Good evening, everyone. Sorry it was a little reverse order here this evening. We had a few minutes of closed session, so we're now going to start our regular meeting. We're a few minutes late, but I apologize for that. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'll let the call over the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The mission of Clay County Schools is to build high-quality learning environments that ensure all students learn at high levels.
And our next regular meeting will be held May the 20th for the May meeting. And I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as it's written.
I'll make a motion. Oh, shit.
Mr. Caldwell, is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
And before we do public comment, I want to let y'all know Mr. Jones isn't here this evening. He's covering for the knee surgery, so I've got him, y'all put him on speaker, so he's going to be listening in and he can make comments. I'm sitting in front of this speaker so he can pick that up. So, Daniel, are you there?
I am.
Okay, thank you.
We miss you, Danny.
Thanks. Much rather be there than here.
Yeah. But he is healing and doing well, so he just didn't feel like getting out this evening. So we have two people who have signed up for public comment. And just a reminder that public comment is limited to 3 minutes. So we'll go ahead and start. The first one is Ms. Brooke Shook.
Okay, you'll have to describe to Mr. Jones just how cute she is.
I'll send him a picture.
Well, my name is Brooke Shook. I am a teacher here at Hayesville Elementary School. My husband and I moved here with our two boys in 2021. My two boys are over here, Copeland Shook and Anderson Shook. They're both in kindergarten and pre-K. My husband Jesse and I both work for the school system. He works at the middle school, and he's the custodian for the middle school. He's also the varsity soccer assistant coach, which is where he's at now. This is not a public stunt. He is actually doing something. So we moved here in 2021 from Oglethorpe County in Lexington, Georgia, which is right outside of Athens. We moved here with no extended family, no immediate family. Both of our parents and brothers and sisters all live back in Georgia, about 2.5 hours away. Anderson attended the daycare here, which is why I'm speaking on behalf of the daycare. He attended the daycare when he was 2 years old. That is the only daycare my children have ever attended. In Georgia, we had the luxury of family, and we don't have it here. Sunny was born in 2021. This is Sunny. She started attending the daycare at 6 weeks old, and she had the extra mama, she had the extra nana, that I couldn't give her because we had moved away from our immediate family. I felt completely at peace leaving my 9 pound, 6 week old with these fiercely protective ladies. Right now, all of my kids are 100 yards from each other at all times. My pre-K-er, my kindergartner, my daycare baby, all are 100 yards from each other at all times, and it really brings a lot of peace to my heart knowing how close they are. Copeland, my kindergartner, and my pre-K-er will come home and just tell me, I got to see baby sister today. They get to see each other, and so it just brings me a lot of peace knowing that they are so close to each other. It is so special that my kids are close to each other and know that they are loved every day when they leave home. The family that we have undeservingly earned from moving to this town has become so special to my husband and I. I believe this daycare is the heartbeat and a valued establishment as witnessed by generations before us and hopefully generations after us. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your time. And Michael Furch is next.
Hello, I'm Michael Furch, and I am a parent of 3 kids here in the district. And I wanted to first thank the board and the staff and the administration, and especially the teachers, for all the hard work that you all have done. All of the accolades that the district, the schools have gotten over the last year or 2 years have been really remarkable, and I wanted to congratulate them and you and for all a great job. And I think maybe because of that, we are now a district where people are seeking to come here, to send their kids to school here. We moved here a few years ago, and we've been very pleased with the education that our kids have gotten. They love, our kids love going to school. They love their teachers. They just, have a bright face every day to be able to see their teachers and their friends. The problem that I think that brings up, and I'm just curious to know if the board has ever considered this, is that I do know that there are parents that move to another school district, move to Hiawassee or to somewhere else, and still try to find a way to send their kids to school here. And I think with our strain on resources that we have, my concern is, we have taxpayers that pay our taxes and fund our schools, and when we have parents that find a way to either falsify documents or find ways to stay in the district or get into the district when they really should be in the district where they are living or paying taxes. My concern is, as an example, we moved here in 2021. We had to fill out a lot of paperwork to make sure that we could get our kids in the district, but it's never been something that has come back around to say, hey, do you still live here? Are you still in the district? We are. However, I do know that there are parents, having talked to others, that have found ways around, and essentially are straining resources that really should be focused on our students here. I know our schools are growing, our space is limited, so I guess my question for the board would be, if at all possible, if we can find some way to make sure that we focus our resources on the appropriate people in our district, in our county, and make sure that those that are trying to skirt the rules are found and go to the appropriate places where they can. There are plenty of other schools if they're in Hiawassee or if they're in Young Harris. Certainly there are schools there in Cherokee County. But that's all. I just wanted to highlight that as a potential issue. Again, I have no idea what is being done or what has been done in the past, since we've only been here a few years, to deal with that issue. But I do think it's a great issue to have. I mean, I love the schools here. I love the community. So anyway, thank you all for all the work you've done.
Thank you. So, Michael? Yes. Okay. So typically in public comment, when someone poses a question to the board, as the secretary of the board, the superintendent will send you a response back to that. All right, thank you.
What I'd like to add to that as well, though, is that's been a topic recently in our district leadership team. So I'm also going to go be a public response to that as well, as that's been something we've been actively discussing.
So next we'll move into the superintendent's report. I'm going to start with recognitions with the ACT update and recognition with Mr. Williams. Mr. Owen here.
He's right out there. Yeah, there he is.
I just blocked out.
What is this review?
So this is the ACT update and recognition.
He's on the agenda a few times.
Good evening, Clay County. Every year, juniors across North Carolina take the ACT. Probably a lot of you parents took the ACT back in school as well. And it's a tough test. It covers reading, English, math, and science. It's a 3-hour exam. It's used for college admissions and for scholarships. And it's also part of our school report card for high schools in North Carolina. So we bring good news. Our juniors this year, the class of 25, their average composite score was 18.5 this year, which is actually up from last year of 17.6. So we were really pleased with that. And rather than me and Ms. White stand up here and take all the credit for it, we wanted to invite some juniors that scored well on this test. And we set this at 24 or above. So I think we have 5 here with us tonight. There's 8 altogether. But I'd like to bring you all up and recognize you. Logan Cummins. And you can just stay up here, Logan, if you want. Don't go far. Chloe Hagberg. Great job, Chloe. Mr. Dylan Hall. Connor Pullum. And Raylan Taylor. And we also have 3 juniors that couldn't be with us tonight: Scott Grindstaff, Lucas Martz, and Tate Roberts. But, these 5, great job. We're proud of you. And stick around. We'll take a photo of you real quickly.
You need to come over here. I'm just done.
All right, guys. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
I just have a few things to add to that, but Mr. Oberlin, before we move on, did these kiddos participate in the ACT boot camp?
They did.
Can you share a little bit about that?
Sure. That's something we've done for the past few years. ACT boot camp is kind of an intense, I don't want to say last minute, but it's, a quick review of everything related to the ACT. And it goes beyond just test-taking strategies like process of elimination or that type of thing. It really does review content. So in years past, we've been able to do that through our Gear Up grant. This year, juniors are not part of the Gear Up cohort, so we had a donor that actually kind of came through and helped us out because it's not cheap to do that boot camp, but I think it paid off. And if I may just talk about today.
Yes, that's where I was getting ready to go.
So also today, with some of the money we had left over from the boot camp expense, we had our first ever junior breakfast today. So we took the entire junior class, put them on activity buses, and took them out to Mountain Harbor at the clubhouse. And they had a really nice breakfast. And the idea was that they were just able to sit at a table with community members in a real informal, kind of a networking type of environment. We weren't, signing them up for jobs or doing interviews or anything like that. It was just an opportunity for them to ask questions. And Rachel and Lisa were there today too. So we had probably about 14 community members. Everything from welding to four-year university to fiber telecommunications to early childhood. It was a really good morning and lasted about an hour, and the feedback so far has been good. They no offense, Jenny, but they really enjoyed the food. So they had epic catering this week. So.
Congratulations on that. That's
great. Thanks so much. Anything more for me?
That's all for now. I just wanted to mention that too. I got to attend the junior breakfast and sit with a group of students, and it was a really rewarding time, just very informal conversation, but getting to know our juniors. They'll be our seniors in a few short weeks, so that was a great thing. I want to share just a few other quick updates in regards to Hayesville Intermediate School and where we are with that. We are currently in contract negotiation and trying to get the price down a little bit from our initial bid, and so we've been looking at those things and hoping to break ground as soon as school is out. So that's where we are with that. I wanted to let you know that there's a group called the Clay County Collaborative that meets monthly. The Clay County Collaborative is a group of school personnel along with a group of community resource personnel that meet together, and we work on problem solving and brainstorming about issues that relate to our students. And this month, they got an opportunity to partner with NC Child, which is a group that lobbies for legislation in regards to our students. And so oftentimes we feel like out here in rural western North Carolina, we don't often have a voice in Raleigh. And so our collaborative got to meet with the NC Child team here in the boardroom, and I want to share a picture with you. That's only part of the group, but there were several people that are in this room that participated in that, and we were just really appreciative of the opportunity to advocate for our students, particularly as it relates to their mental health needs. So that was the focus of that group. So we're excited about that. Hayesville Primary School, as you know from a previous board meeting, was recognized as a champion for change, and they received that literacy award by the state. But over the last month, they got to go out to Raleigh and be recognized at the State Board of Education meeting. So I want to share a photo from that. We've got Rochelle Leak there. Rochelle is our literacy specialist for the district, and Kimmy Staten, who is the Teacher of the Year for Hayesville Primary School. And so that is them represented with some folks from DPI, including the State Superintendent, Catherine Truitt, there by Ms. Staten. So that was a great opportunity for Clay County to be represented in Raleigh. So 2 times this month, and we're very thankful for that. One more quick thing I wanted to mention going on at Hayesville Middle School is they have developed a student leadership team that includes 6 student leaders from each grade level. That's gotten off the ground, and Ms. Rich is very excited about that. So I've asked her, once that really gets going, if she'll share with the community about how that's going and how that team is being utilized. But that's something that we're really excited and really being intentional about elevating our student voice within the district. And so I'm super excited to see that happening at the middle school. There's been a little bit of talk about the new Title IX regulations. So President Biden signed new Title IX regulations into law. That happened last week. However, we have not seen the actual changes yet. It's a document that's 1,561 pages that go into effect in August. So we've got some time that we'll be learning about what those regulations include and what impacts it may have for the district. And we will treat it the same way as we have the Parent Bill of Rights, and as we learn more about those impacts, we'll continue to share how that looks for Clay County schools. The rest of the good news that I have to share is being covered in our reports section. So pass it back to Dr. Shuck.
So we'll move right into the report section, and we'll start with Ms. Brett.
Well, good evening. As you know, I teach at the high school, and I have been the teacher cadet instructor for the past 3 years. And on the screen, you can see some of the numbers. They might be a little small there, but just so you can understand the program a little bit. This is an honors level course designed to introduce students to the educational field as a career option, but it does not necessarily mean that they're going to become teachers. Perhaps they want to look at coaching or psychology, counseling, school nutrition, school nurses, all of those different career fields. When we started in 2021-2022, we had 7 Teacher Cadet 1 students. Almost all of those were seniors, and so they moved on. And out of those first students, I know one went on to major in psychology and another in education. And then the next year we had 10 Teacher Cadet 1 students, and I'm happy to say 5 of those students returned for Teacher Cadet 2 for the first time ever. So the difference in Teacher Cadet 1 and Teacher Cadet 2 would be that in the first level, we spend a lot of time talking about educational philosophy, discussing child development, adolescent development, and they spend a little bit of time observing in each of the schools. We are very, very blessed in Clay County to have the primary, the elementary, the middle, and the high, so they just walk to where they're going. We set that up with each school, and they observe, they come back, we have conversations about that, but they don't really interact with the students unless we set up special activities, which we do occasionally do. Teacher Cadet 2 students actually spend 3 days a week in one classroom, and I'm going to let them speak to that. I have 3 of the 5 here with me, and I think you'd rather hear from them anyway, so I'm going to just open that up, and we'll let Abby Taylor start for us.
Hi, I'm Abby Taylor. I'm a senior, and I'm in the level 2 with Miss Beck. I'm in Kim Staten's class in the kindergarten. Really like it. I like being around the kids, and like she said, 3 days a week, we get to interact with them, make friends with them, you know, and it's helping me be around kids and like them more. And yeah, I really like it, and I appreciate her doing this because I didn't ever think I would like kids. And now I do.
Changed your mind. And if you have questions, maybe after each of them speak, you can ask the
questions.
We'll let at the end. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Miriam Canup. I'm a sophomore, and I've been visiting Miss Megan McQuaid's class, her 2nd grade class, and this class has helped me with exploring my career options. When I went into high school, I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do, and I like the fact that I can explore my career options here, and this has really opened a world to teaching that I didn't expect I would ever like. So,
Hi, my name is Sean Plummer. I'm a senior at Hayesville High School. I'm a part of the Teacher Cadet too as well. I can definitely say that being a part of this program for with Miss Beck has definitely made my outlook look more better. And going to Miss Jessica Hughes' class in the 4th grade in elementary school, it's just being in there. It's just the environment just is crazy. It really enlightened me. It really made me have a different outlook of what I was going to do, which is be a technician. But now I was thinking about maybe being a teacher, maybe when I get out of high school, go to Western and do programs for it, because when I got in there after a week, before I was like, man, I hope these kids are not great, but after a week, blew my mind. And I thought those kids were crazy, but I just want to thank the school board staff for letting us be here, everybody that's here in attendance, and especially Miss Beck, because she's definitely been a great teacher for me throughout my high school career, so appreciate you guys.
All right, y'all have any questions for them? Or me?
I just want to ask a quick question. Do y'all get to interact with any of the lessons and stuff like that? What kind of things have you done?
Yeah, we get to interact with the lessons sometimes, and sometimes we even get to teach lessons to the students. I myself have gotten to read books to the students relating to their lessons, and I've also got to help plan lessons, sub-plans too. So, are there any more questions?
For any of them?
Yeah, for any of us.
Y'all want to speak to lessons or anything? No? I know a lot of times when Abby goes, Teacher Cadets is at the end of the day. So in the younger grades, a lot of times the students are going to the playground. And so Abby and the others that go down are usually a part of that. I believe Sean has experienced a little bit more on the academic side with math and things of that, and science. So, yeah.
Well, I really view this as a win-win, because not only a great experience for you no matter what you decide to do, but it's also great for our kids. They look up to our high schoolers so much, and for them to be in the same room and be able to engage with you all is really a gift. So I appreciate it.
Thank you all for doing it. Yeah.
And I want to thank the educational professionals who've been coming in to speak as guest speakers. That is one thing that I really wanted to do, was just invite people from each of the schools and our central office at a variety of times to come speak to our students. That is usually the top thing for them, other than being in the classroom. They talk about how those visits really open their eyes to the possibilities. So, all right.
Thank you.
I was just curious about your interaction with the students. Is that has it been one-on-one, or has it been in front of an entire class?
It's been Miss Jessica's. Miss Jessica's been letting me just go in front if I have to, or just go one-on-one with the kids. One time I helped this one kid that needed help, and so I just went to go sit next to him and help him on his math work on fractions in IXL. So it's been more one-on-one, but once a blue moon, she lets me go up there, and if I have to, if the kid's are struggling or something. But yeah, she lets me go in one-on-one, and then I get to do a bunch more things after I'm done observing, just helping elementary school out.
That's great. Thank you.
I think they wanted a picture. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Just gonna stand
Next we have Ms. Carissa T. In case you love her.
Amazing shake.
They're not gonna dance.
We're not going to dance.
I'm thinking about where's the blender.
So before Good Friday holiday, we decided to turn our Q3 house games into a Ron Clark event called the Amazing Shake. And so this is one of those things that's a really big dream that she made happen. And so we're really excited about it. We're going to let y'all watch this video just to kind of see. Our whole entire library was filled with 5 canopies that were all decorated, fully decorated as a certain scenario. And so here is one of our kids. This is just how he reacted, how he did in that tent. And so to
preface this. This was decorated. This scenario was to have the student be able to exhibit like appreciation and acceptance, because sometimes in life we're given things that maybe we're not necessarily excited about or really want, but like you have to be appreciative and be respectful. And so the kids definitely, they had no idea going into the tent what exactly the scenario was going to be, and they had 1 minute to kind of respond. And so in this situation, this is set up like it's a birthday party, and Grandma's sitting there in her rocking chair, and she's like, "Oh, happy birthday," and hands them a present. "You want to open up your present?" And so that's all they know. And then you'll see kind of, this is one of our favorite ones.
It's okay, I love it, dude. I love it. I'm gonna hang it up and look at it and it'll remind me of the day my day.
You have a great day.
It was a picture of her. I forgot to say that. So that was kind of what was funny, is we had gotten ahead of time pictures of her, of Grandma, and it's kind of a silly situation. So the kids were like, "Oh, great, you gave me a picture of yourself." But they all really surprised us and really reacted really sweet. So,
and one piece is the character traits that they were kind of challenged with in each tent were character traits that they've been focusing on. So each week at the elementary school, there's a certain character trait that's the focus that they learn about all week, and then the teacher picks a student of the week for that character trait. So this allowed them to review all of those and then try those out in scenarios that they didn't exactly know what were going to be, but they knew that it would be on being kind or sportsmanship, those kind of things. So we're really excited to see where this is going to go. We kind of started small, basic, but I mean the kids loved it. They loved this just as much, if not more, than the other kinds of house games that they've done. And this really allowed some of our students to shine. And so we're really excited about where we go next.
That's great.
Any questions?
Well, I just want to say too, I got to witness this, and it was this time I asked Ms. T to present, because I thought it was such a great event. But part of what made it so great was we had communities for student volunteers, like our grandma there, and I think she was one of our community for students volunteers. We had high schoolers. Sean was involved. He was a baseball player with bad sportsmanship, which was really hard to do.
It was hard.
But it was great because we had other high school students who came in, and they were part of a playground scene. So we're really trying to work on that across campus collaboration and allowing our oldest students to really mentor and influence our younger students. And so it was a great way to bring in our volunteers, to bring in our older students, and it was a lot of fun to watch. And so I know that one of the ways that is handled is to really include your business partners in the community in this. And so I think that's a great next step, is to be able to include some of our businesses, because these are what we call soft skills that we're working on. And this is what our employers want to see in students, because what they're going to need to know for a job, we don't know what that information is going to be like, but they're going to need to be able to be appreciative and have good sportsmanship and to be able to walk into unknown situations and be able to act appropriately. So kudos to you guys for working on those things.
And I just have to comment, because on a lot of these things, when we're talking about like the high school or middle school participating, it's such a connected school system, and I think that's just so invaluable and special for our community. So thank you all for everything.
Thank you all. we have the HHS accreditation report, Mr. Odom and Ms. Watt.
Promise that not every slide has glitter, so just want to give a little bit of pizzazz at the front of it. So basically every 6 years, and now it's through an organization called Cognia, it used to be SACS, but secondary institutions can go through an accreditation process. With the organization Cognia now, we were responsible for submitting 5 different sections. And really, when I think about 2 good analogies, I feel like you really start with the bird's eye view of the whole school and then quickly shift to more of the microscope view. So we started with our executive summary. That was all fairly basic demographic information about our school, and then just factors like community values that would basically just influence the decisions that we made day to day. The first big piece of data that we collected to put in our accreditation portfolio was a series of surveys. We did 6 surveys total. They were to students, to staff members, and to parents. There was a beginning of the year perception survey, and then we surveyed them mid-year. A lot of it was about morale and how they felt about the school year and just about, not necessarily that year, but the year in general. And we analyzed all of that data. We also looked at student performance data just from our most recent years, which is always awesome because our students, they achieve at high levels, and we're so very proud of them for that. Our teachers were absolute rock stars this year. They probably had, some of them, close to double the observations that they typically do, because we actually had, in addition to our NESIS observations that they have every year, we had a separate instrument through Cognia specifically focused on student engagement. And so we did several of these, and then we were able to look at them and then find some trends, both things to celebrate and things to work on with our classroom instruction. And then finally, the last section, and the 3 of us putting our portfolio together kind of joked that this is the professional equivalent of giving birth, was our standard self-analysis. It was 42, I believe, different standards that were broken into clusters, and we'll speak a little bit about those individually, but this is really your microscope view. It was anything from budgets and resource allocation to student involvements in clubs to classroom instruction to student support programs like PBIS and MTSS. I think if there was any piece of information about Hayesville High School, it was in that standard self-analysis. So the good news, which we were super pleased about, is that we actually were above the network average in all of our areas. In our stakeholder feedback analysis, our score was 3.5, while the network average was 3.1. The next 2 sections we really thought spoke to the quality of our faculty and also just to how hard that our students work each and every day. For our student performance and our learning environment observations, we scored a 3.8 in both of those categories, while the network average was 3.1 and 3.0 respectively. And then for the standard self-analysis, there were way too many standards to include all of them on one screen, but they were broken into 6 different standard clusters, and all of our clusters were also above the network average, which was we were incredibly pleased with the results of that. Here's just some of the feedback that we got from some of the standard clusters. The first was a culture of learning. Our evaluators said that leaders at Hayesville High School maintain a culture that promotes stakeholder engagement, positive relationships with peers and adults, and collegiality and collaboration among staff. I was really pleased to see the bottom point of information specifically, because I know we've done a lot of structural work to make things like professional learning communities happen, and just to see that translate to this portfolio was very, very gratifying. For the Leadership for Learning cluster, we got the feedback that we've implemented practices and procedures for recruiting, hiring, observing, and supervising staff members. Again, we're so grateful to our teachers seeing us in their rooms a whole lot more this year. For engagement of learning, we got the feedback that we provide equitable opportunities for learners to achieve academic success while utilizing curriculum and instruction that emphasizes the value of diverse cultures, backgrounds, and abilities. And this is an area we want to even continue to improve in with our ongoing work with Open Way Learning. And then, so we have not officially gotten the announcement of accreditation from the Cognia organization, but it is coming in June or July. Basically what we were told is you want an IEQ, which is Index of Education Quality. You want an IEQ score of above 300, and we received a final composite of 314, which we were incredibly pleased with. What that looks like is we will be accredited without any additional conditions, meaning that the next time that we progress monitor for accreditation will be at that 3-year mark, which is just standard for everybody. And then we will reaccredit in like at the 6-year mark again. This was a huge team effort, so we just wanted to shout out some people that were crucial in this effort. All of our school-based teams, MTSS, PBIS, and SIT, so incredibly grateful. Mary Cawthorn and Allison Ash, really the week of that our portfolio was due was like their Super Bowl for helping us get artifacts. I'm pretty sure that Miss Mary tracked down every PD agenda that people attended this year, and Miss Allison turned in every budget that we could have had for the last school year. We also want to shout out Miss Teague for the work that she did on accreditation at the beginning of the year, and Miss Godfrey for reading our standard self-analysis before we submitted it that week. And then last but certainly not least, all of our HHS teachers for just being absolute rock stars with this year and seeing and getting a lot more feedback than what they have in a typical school year. We couldn't have done it without every single person on this list. So, what questions do you all have for us about this process?
So I'm sure you've said this already, but this was a 1 year from the beginning of the fall to now.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Absolutely.
And why? So this one was done through Cognia, not SACS. What was the reason for that? I may have missed that in the beginning. Is there a reason?
You could probably speak more to that than I can, Mr. O'Connell.
Cognia bought the SACS portfolio,
Gotcha.
so it's the same people.
They just
have a different.
Thank you.
And board members, just so you know, the whole entire report that they got is in your folder for your review as well. But, I think you left off some very important people in your thank yous, and that's you all. How incredibly hard you work. Just to have read it was exhausting. I can't imagine having written it. So, congratulations to you guys.
That's awesome. Nice work.
I'll just say that I've been through this. This is my 5th time doing this. 2 on the reviewing side, and then my 3rd time now on the school side. And this was the smoothest one by far. So, I never had any doubt during this process. It get frustrating sometimes. You're trying to dig something up or think of the right way to say it. I tell people, don't worry, we're going to be accredited. We've got this. But it really did go well because of the team we have in place.
Thank you.
Well, as I flipped through and I saw these little graph things, your institution. I'm very impressed, and I'm going to read some more of that. That's great. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you.
Shows a
Thank you.
lot of hard
Congratulations to the high
work.
school.
Thank you.
I'm going to say one more quick thing. Their EIQ, as Ms. White mentioned, was 314. We desire to be over 300, and so obviously we met that goal, but the network average is 253. So we're, even though it sounds like we're just a little above 300, we are far above the network average. So I think that's worth noting.
That's really good. Very good. That's wonderful. Great job.
All right. So next we have the update on the Bethelberry property. I'm sure, as many know, there's lots of things floating around there in the community as to what's been going on with this property. This property has been something that was brought into foreclosure 12 or 13 years ago, and the school board gets, I guess, proceeds from sales or foreclosures, sales of those bond forfeitures through the foreclosure process. So this one has been a nightmare, to say the least, probably, in dealing with this and getting it to the court system, getting it through the court system. So we've got Alex here with Richard Swartz Law Firm. He's going to be giving us kind of an update on that. Hopefully he's going to be able to break that down in some common language that everybody can understand for us this evening. So Alex, I'll let you take
I
it
will
over here if you don't
try to
mind.
be nice and so I'm Alex Grosskirth. I'm one of the attorneys in Schwartz Law, and I've been primarily the associate handling this matter. Like Mr. Shook said, the way that the board acquired this property is through a bond forfeiture judgment. Essentially, in this case, a defendant failed to show up in court, and when he was bonded out, he had decided to use this property as collateral to secure his appearance. When he failed, it went through a process. As a result, the bond forfeiture created what is known as a deed of trust, which was written in the name of the state of North Carolina. Bond forfeitures are given to the school boards and through the North Carolina state constitution. School boards receive the proceeds of fines and forfeitures. And so that's where this comes from. And typically the way that works is the money runs through the court system. So, and then it's just deposited into the school's fund. So the money isn't given directly to the school system, it goes through the court system first. So I think back in 2010 when this happened, that's probably the reason it was written in the name of the state of North Carolina. This property sat around for a long time, and eventually the board contacted an attorney to initiate foreclosure proceedings. Through those foreclosure proceedings, the bid for the property was put in the name of the state of North Carolina, which caused an issue for the board. It was not able to sell the property, which it thought it had title to. And so the board tried to sell the property, went through all the proper statutory mechanisms to sell the property, but was not able to as a result of the issue of the name in the deed. Our office has been working to try to get this issue resolved. And the easiest way to do that was through a redoing the foreclosure sale to do it correctly. The initial deed of trust that was written in 2010 requires, as the first step before anything else happens, a foreclosure sale. So there's no way to avoid doing a foreclosure sale. I was just meeting with the board earlier today to discuss this matter with them. There's an agreement that has been reached with the initial purchaser. It is in its final stages and will be announced at the next board meeting if it's executed. And the foreclosure auction is tomorrow at 11 a.m., I believe. So I hope that clears up some of the issues here. It's a very, very complicated matter. I spoke to a couple school board attorneys around the state who handle bond forfeitures, and this was a new one. So it took a long time to figure out the way to get it done.
Thank you, Alex. Is there any questions for Alex from anybody on the board? Is there any questions or comments?
No. Just be glad when this is settled. Yeah.
Very good. All right. Well, thank you, Alex. Appreciate you taking a few minutes.
Thank you. I hope I was able to distill very complicated property law in a way that makes it a little more clear. All right. Thank you. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And next we have the Parent Bill of Rights. Ms. Godfrey's got the second part of that this evening.
Okay, so last month I went over just kind of an overview of the Parent Bill of Rights and delayed part of it for this month simply because it is, even though it's not, hasn't changed a lot in Clay County Schools, it's a large piece of legislation that has a lot of technical implications. And we have received 5 legal advisors from Campbell Shatley regarding this. And so we continue to hone in and make sure that all of our procedures and policies are aligned with the Parent Bill of Rights legislation. So just as a point of review, there are 12 basic parent rights as it relates to children's education, and I have them listed there, along with the board policy that we have that addresses those particular things. So just to go over them really quickly, parents have the right to consent or withhold consent
for participation in reproductive health and safety education, which has always been our practice here. The right to seek a medical or religious exemption from immunization requirements has also been in practice here for a long time. The right to review statewide standardized assessments as part of the state report card. The state report card is something as a Title I school district that we have always sent home and notified parents of. Number 4, the right to request an evaluation for their child for an academically or intellectually gifted program or for identification as a child with a disability also has been in place here for quite some time. Number 5, the right to inspect and purchase public school unit textbooks or other supplementary instructional materials. The right to access information regarding the board's policy for promotion, retention, and high school graduation, all of which we already had existing board policies for. Number 7 was the right to receive student report cards on a regular basis, also a practice that we already had in place, that reflect the student's performance, academic performance in each class, the student's conduct, and the student's attendance. The right to access information related to the state public education system, state standards, report card requirements, attendance requirement, and textbook requirements. The right to participate in parent-teacher organizations, the right to opt in to certain data collection for their child. This particular piece, you guys always get a form when you fill out your child's beginning of the year paperwork, so I'm sure you recognize that language. The right for students to participate in protected student information surveys only with parent consent. The right to review all available records of materials their child has borrowed from a school library. So those are the 12 basic rights, but there are some other things that are embedded within the legislation, and so that's what I wanted to talk about specifically this evening. So the first, the legislation requires that our district create a parent guide to student achievement, and so that will be distributed at the beginning of each school year. The goal of that document is to provide relevant information in relation to student achievement and the Parent Bill of Rights in an easy to find, easy to read document. We talked about at the last board meeting that we want to create a place where you don't have to go searching through the board policy manual to try and find the information you need. We want it to kind of all be in one collective place. So it's not that the information hasn't been available or is all that new to us. We are just creating a place for it to be easily accessible to our parents. The next relates to policies regarding parental involvement. We've had a long-standing policy on parent involvement. So if you're interested in our policies and you go to the parent involvement policy, you can see when it was first adopted. So even though some of these policies have been updated, they've been policies that have been present in our district for quite some time. And if you're interested in that, the dates every time they are, when they are initially adopted and each time they are amended, are listed at the bottom of the policy. But basically, the Parent Bill of Rights says that our parent involvement policy must include these things. Links to community services, opportunities to participate in the planning, implementation, and evaluation of parent involvement programs, opportunities to participate in school volunteer programs, committees, and advisory council, to make sure that our policy addresses the parental role in their child's education to support success, which includes homework, attendance, and discipline, policy about textbook review, policies that relate to access to curriculum standards, and policies that relate to opportunities to learn about clubs and extracurricular activities. So hopefully as a parent, when you hear this list, you're not hearing things that you're like, oh, I didn't know about that, or didn't have the opportunity to be involved in that. The next issue that is included in the Parent Bill of Rights is notification of student physical and mental health. And so basically we are to provide an annual notification of available services and the means to provide consent. Specifically, one of the things that we talked about is, it says in the legislation, prior to administration to students in kindergarten through 3rd grade, a copy of any student well-being questionnaire or health screening form, and the means for the parent to consent to the use of the questionnaire or form. As you all may know, we have used a program called Satchel as a social emotional screener. We have discontinued the use of that until we get more clarification about this. Satchel has provided a copy of their questionnaire, however, they have not given us permission to share that with parents. So we ran into a little bit of a roadblock there. So that's currently something that we're trying to figure out exactly how to proceed. We do think it's important for us to assess and kind of know what our students' social emotional skills are and how we can support them in that growth. But we've run into some hiccups in this particular area. Not that we don't want parents to have a copy of it, we're just not being provided the opportunity to give parents a copy of it. So we are also required to give parents notice of changes in services or monitoring. So for example, if a student was seeing the counselor 1 day a week and we decided we needed to change that to 2 times a week, we would want to make sure that the parent was included in that change. Also, any requests to change names, if a student requests to go by a different name, then that is something that the parents would be notified of. So continuing with mental and physical health, when an issue related to mental or physical health comes up, school personnel should do one of the following. Encourage the child to discuss issues related to the child's well-being with his or her parent, or facilitate discussion of the issue with the child's parent. And so hopefully these are practices that have been in place for a long time here, but it does specifically point these things out in that we are not hiding any information from parents, which I don't believe we ever were, but this specifies that we would always be advocating for the child to discuss those concerns with their parent or help them discuss those concerns with their parent. Next, it talks about medical treatment, and so this is an area I mentioned last month has been a little bit of a tricky thing for us. It says Part 3 of the Act, entitled Parental Authorization for Healthcare of Minors, requires prior written or documented consent before any medical procedure or treatment is employed by or ordered by a healthcare practitioner. So there's a lot of things, if you just look at that language, what is the definition of a healthcare practitioner? Does that include our school nurses? What is the definition of a medical procedure or treatment? We talk about things like first aid, we talk about things like EpiPens, we talk about things like Benadryl when you get a bee sting. All of these kinds of things have to be defined as what is a medical procedure or treatment. Anything that we consider a medical treatment or procedure requires parental permission. And so where we run into some hiccups with this is we do things like vision and hearing screenings for our students, and we are currently treating that as a medical procedure or treatment until we get further clarification. So just so you all know, our approach to this has been the most conservative approach until we're told otherwise, because we just want to make sure that we are compliant. Age-appropriate instruction, and so this just makes a statement about instruction on gender identity and other related topics shall not be included in the curriculum in grades kindergarten through 4th grade, regardless of whether or not the information is provided by school personnel or third parties. So that is not new to our district at all, but it is included in the legislation. So there are some unchanged rights to information. So parents have always had rights as it relates to their children and education. So parents have always had a right to educational records for their child, medical records for their child, access to the state report cards, access to promotion and retention policies, access to the state standards, and the consent for reproductive health and safety education. So these are unchanged things. So the Parent Bill of Rights just adds to and expands on these rights that were already in place. So just a few impacts. As I said, most of this is not new to us, but there have been a few tweaks and changes we've had to make in order to ensure compliance. One is expanding our report cards. As we talked about report cards earlier, it is a requirement that all students have conduct on their report card. That was not currently practiced at the middle school or high school level. So that has been a change that we've had to make sure that we are compliant and giving parents feedback on student conduct even in our upper grades. We do survey students from time to time, so we've had to change our internal processes for making sure all student surveys are compliant. We are allowed to survey students, however, if it has any protected topics, we require parent permission for that. And so we have just had to create some internal processes to make sure that those are reviewed before they're given, to make sure no protected topics are included. And then we've also had to develop procedures for students to be called by a name other than their legal name. And honestly, I think that this is something that I'm very thankful that there has been statewide procedures established for, because I think it was one of those areas where there wasn't a lot of clarity and things were being done differently from district to district. So I'm thankful for that. I wanted to let you know about a few resources that we're working on and will continue to work on as we move forward, so we have added under the parent section of our district website, we have added a section on the Parent Bill of Rights. So when you go to our webpage and you go to resources, there's a section for parents, and you can find information on the Parent Bill of Rights. We will be adding to that as we move forward. In addition, our school board policy manual is available through our district website as well if you're interested in that. You can expect that some of these things will be updated in our student parent handbooks that are given out at the beginning of every year. Some of the language in that will be more specific as well. And then, of course, coming soon, there will be the Parents Guide to Student Achievement that will be given out at the beginning of each school year. That, as I said, will have everything kind of all in one place. So, just the bottom line, many aspects of this legislation were already in place within our school district. There have been a few changes, as we've discussed. They've primarily been in policy, procedure, and permission. It's kind of like the 3 Ps. Policy, procedure, and permission, but really not in how we operate on the day-to-day. The legislation is technical, and as I said, it's taken some time to work through the requirements. When it takes a group of lawyers, 5 different advisors, to even get through the legislation, that tells you how complex it is. In addition, in the short session, they're advocating for changes already to the Parent Bill of Rights because there have been some unintended consequences, such as I don't think there was ever an intent to not allow a school district to do a hearing screening. So now that they've gotten some feedback on some of the unintended repercussions of this legislation, there are changes being asked for in the short session. So this topic's not going away. You're going to continue to hear updates from me as we move forward. But both in the past and in the present, we desire to be transparent. And one of the things I'm really, really glad about this is if you listen to the news or read on social media, there's often accusations made against schools, not necessarily this one, but schools in general, that we're teaching things that we're not teaching or allowing things that we're not allowing. And I think that this just, even though we feel that we've been transparent in the past, I just feel like it opens the door for us to even be more transparent with our policies and our practices and our curriculum, and really gives parents the avenues to explore those things more comfortably maybe than they were previously. So to me, I think this is all really good, and as a parent of 3 students, then I'm thankful that any parent would have the same access to information that I have as a school employee when it comes to these types of things. So as I said, we desire to be transparent. So if you have a question about how we do something, or if we allow something or we don't allow something, then we welcome you to ask, because often we don't know what the misconceptions are until somebody asks us, or we read about it elsewhere. So, do you guys have any questions about part 2?
I would just like to reiterate, which this came from the state legislature who passed the Parents' Bill of Rights.
Yes.
So this is how we're dealing with that.
Yes.
And that was last October, wasn't it? When it came in, and they we're working through getting all these policies established so that we can enact all of that.
Yes.
Another thing that I wanted to just ask about, and that is that if and when any federal regulations come in that contradict, how is that going to be handled? Can you? Or am I putting you on the spot?
No, you're not putting me on the spot, but that's what we pay attorneys for. And so I wouldn't speak to how that's going to play out, but as I mentioned earlier, we do know that there's over 1,500 pages of new federal regulations coming out as it relates to Title IX. I've not been able to see those yet, but I don't know what the implications of that will be, but I would say that that's what we pay attorneys for.
That's where this question came from, because I had just read a little synopsis that we had already received that has a tendency to contradict a point or two on this. So,
that can happen, yes.
So, okay. So
we shall see.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned, yes.
Is the word.
Yes.
Ms. Cochran, I just appreciate you speaking not only this month but last month to keep us updated on all this. I think it's really important, Lord. I know you. Well, I think it's important, and that as the updates continue, the few things that we need to secure up a little bit and clarify, I know you will keep us updated. I just appreciate it.
Yes, and as we update the website too, I'll draw attention to those things as well.
Thank you.
I really like the format.
Thank you.
With all the party.
Listen, it has to be happy. Yeah.
Very good. Any other questions or comments? No?
No.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just staying because I'm next too.
So next we'll move into the action item of the agenda, and the first item there is, of course, the Clay County Schools daycare, which we have tabled for the last month. So Ms. Crawford's going to go over a couple of things.
So my presentation tonight is just a modified version of last month's that I'm just going to quickly and briefly go over. Last month we discussed the many benefits, and you've heard some of that both in public comment last month and again this month about the benefits that the daycare provides to our staff. There's a lot of research out there that providing daycare can be a great recruitment tool and a retention tool as well. And so of course we know that, and it has been that for us in the past. There are many educational benefits of our daycare, allowing our students to, who have an interest in early childhood education, being able to go and be present in the daycare is certainly a benefit, and it's all right here on campus. It also has educational benefits for the students that are in that program and the transition that it allows for them moving into pre-K and kindergarten and already being familiar with the building and knowing that our future students are getting a high quality education even before they start pre-K. Of course, we talked about some of the practical issues. In this, we talked about that we have some space issues that we're concerned about at Hayesville Primary School, and that those 2 classrooms that are currently being used for daycare may eventually need to be utilized for kindergarten through 2nd grade students because we've had such a boom in enrollment. We also talked about the need for separating our license. Our daycare is currently operating under our pre-K license, and because they're totally separate entities with separate directors, we do need to look at separating those if we're going to continue operating the daycare here. We talked about policy issues and really just the need for our daycare to be fully self-sustaining, so that we're not violating any policies with the money that's allotted to us, and the intention that that money is allotted to us for, which is K-12 education. So in that, we looked next at our kind of our expenses over time, and you can see there, starting with 2014 to 2020-21, the amount of money that we fell short in the daycare. And so obviously that was a large expense that we could no longer sustain. And so that is when Southwestern took over the daycare. So you can also see the expenses from November to February, which is when we took back over the daycare, up until the time this presentation was made, of kind of where we stood in terms of revenue, and we were doing okay at that time. We also talked about that there are some ESSER funds for staff retention that were kind of earmarked to be able to get the daycare to be able to successfully operate till the end of the school year. The next few pages in your presentation are kind of projections. So this is if we were to operate for 12 months, and that is assuming that the students who attend the daycare are obligated to attend 12 months, so it's kind of a 12-month commitment for childcare. If we were to have a 5-star rating and give a 10% discount on the lowest paid sibling, and assuming that all of our spots were filled, that next slide shows you kind of what the finances would look like. That shows our current students along with some vacant slots, but those vacant slots are attributed to the actual vacant slots so that the money aligns to what it would look like if they were filled. We recognize that some of the spots aren't filled because the future of the daycare is uncertain, so it's been difficult to draw people in to fill those vacant spots. The bottom shows, so the top shows the money that would come in. The bottom shows the expenses in terms of payroll and what the difference in that would be. So obviously if operating at a 5-star market rate, the daycare would easily be self-sufficient. The challenge with that is we don't currently have a 5-star for the daycare by itself. We're currently operating under the pre-K license, which is one of the areas that we need to address. And the rates that would be charged at a for these numbers to work out that way are quite high. So that would be $1,165 for a 1-year-old, $983 for a 2-year-old, and $893 for a 3 to 5-year-old. So just keep that in mind. The next slide shows what our expenses would be if looking at 4-star rates, which is a little bit cheaper, $991 for a 1-year-old, $833 for a 2-year-old, and $780 for a 3 to 5-year-old. That gives us about a $10,000 cushion. One of the things that is new information that I wanted to point out to the board is that out of that $10,000 that would be our overage, we would need to obviously be able to purchase supplies out of that, but those funds would also need to cover substitute funds. So because the daycare ladies are currently school employees, they're allowed to sick time, and when they have to be out and they have to have a sub, the money that would need to be utilized to pay that sub would need to come out of those overages. And so we're looking at, Ms. Shelley, about $100 a day, give or take, for a substitute for a full day. So just keep that in mind. That's something I wanted to make sure we mentioned. The next slide is the 3-star rate, and you can see there charging the 3-star rate would put us about $38,000 under expenses, not including substitutes. So obviously, if we wanted to pursue this, we would need to achieve a rating higher than 3-star, and we would need to be able to charge our private pay above this 3-star rate as well in order to make the money work. We do feel very confident we could get a 4 or a 5-star based on the things that are already in place at the daycare, but I did want to throw that out for the sake of comparison. The next slide just has currently what's being charged in daycares, both our own and in the others within our county, for comparison's sake. So just to review kind of our concerns, I know that everyone recognizes the value of the daycare and what it provides. The concerns, as I mentioned earlier, are potential space concerns. The joint license is a concern. There would be a requirement to increase the rates in order to we would no longer be able to scholarship as we have in the past. There are a lot of unknowns. We're unknown in terms of the number of slots that would be filled. We're unknown in the rating that we would achieve. And of course that impacts your subsidy reimbursement as well. And we had talked about the need for an additional part-time worker, and of course, with these numbers, we would not be able to provide that. Concerns with closing. Obviously, this is 7 current employees that would lose their positions, and that would be detrimental to them. In addition, at the end of the school year, there will only be 2 daycares open to serve all of the students in Clay County. And they both have waiting lists. So the question is, if we are no longer able to provide the daycare, there is concern about where those students would go. There are concerns that we may, if we're not able to offer this in the future, it could impact our ability to not only recruit staff to come work here, but also to maintain and retain the staff we currently have, because this is a big draw for a lot of the employees that utilize it. I know that we talked about one of the reasons that we tabled this discussion at the last meeting was the need for additional information. And so I have a bit of information that I want to share with you all. First is our current kindergarten numbers. So we have 80 students currently that we're planning for kindergarten. However, we know that even though we held a registration event and we came up with 80 students, that there will be more to come. And so that is, again, one of the unknowns. We have enough classroom space for 80 kindergartners, but if we get 30 more kindergartners over the summer, we would have a space concern. We also had a question about how much money would be required to go through the licensing process and materials and supplies that might be needed for the rating scales. And so the estimate of that is $3,000 to $5,000. And again, the clarification that subs must come out of the overages as long as the daycare is operated by our school system. I know that most of the time when operated privately, sick time may not be an option. But as long as we are housing the daycare and those employees are our employees, they will continue to be eligible for sick leave. So we just need to keep that in mind. Do you have any questions for me?
Danny, are you still, I haven't checked in on you. I hope you're not sleeping there.
I wish I could.
So any questions or comments regarding any of that new info or the old info as to where Miss Hollingsworth, she kind of put you on the spot if that's okay. So there's, with these, either way, and you may not be able to answer this off the top of your head, but there's 5 vacancies listed there, so we can take up to 36 kids, correct?
Based on
That's
ratio.
probably gonna be a question or based on our approach.
So is that, so if all of the kids that are currently there now, that's 31 kids, right? So will all of those kids be back? No.
We have 10 having a pre-K, hopefully they're not pre-K. A lot of kids have application for pre-K this year.
We have seven.
But if they don't get in pre-K, they can stay in the daycare.
Okay. And of course, the one at the Christian Academy is closed, so that's. Okay.
I mean, the one thing, we've gone over numbers over and over, and I mean, when you look at numbers, I mean, to me, that's hard to, where do we find this additional money? I mean, are teachers and others going to secure those spots through the summer? I mean, we need these filled. Is that something that can be done? Is that what we're leaning towards? I mean, is that what we're saying in here? Is that there's no holds on spots for summer months, right? But that would have to be paid? And
Yes, it would be
from like,
a 12-month.
is that from June through or July?
I think so if you had a teacher that is out for the summer but didn't want to pay for the summer, they would lose their spot and we would get someone on our waiting list that was waiting for a spot. They would know that their spot is no longer available and we're not keeping it open for them for those summer months for them to return again in August.
Gotcha. That's it. Yeah, that's exactly what. Okay.
That would be the only way we could keep the revenue generated to operate, is to keep those slots filled and not have those holes in the summertime, hold those months where they wouldn't be vacated.
Mm-hmm.
And normally, in the past, our waiting list has been extensive, but since Southwestern closed and then we took over, but only for sure until June, we haven't
It's hard
got
to.
a lot of calls because they don't want to take their child somewhere where they're not sure when they could take another opportunity somewhere else.
And this is probably a random question, but how is that wait list generated? I mean, if I call today at 12 o'clock and Kelly calls at 12:30, I'm on the list before Kelly is, and it's just first come, first serve. Yeah.
I mean, it's difficult.
It is, and I think it's with.
It is so difficult.
I mean, I think for me, with the Carolina Christian Academy closing, only having one at Elf School and the one at the First Church, I think to me this creates a bigger need and a bigger service. I know that we're here for K-12 education. I think we've got to make sure that the funds that are allotted to us from the state and from the county go to K-12 education first and foremost. But I think if we can, if we can fill it and we can have the 4-star rating fees and we can break even, and it doesn't need to be a moneymaker, it needs to be a service and it needs to pay for itself.
And if I may, the figures also don't put into account any type of fundraising that we could do, or I know we have a couple of staff members that have previously been assistant directors at other centers where they've had very profitable fundraisers and stuff to
Because what I'm really concerned about too is I don't want a Southwestern issue to occur again in the middle of a school year. That to me was just detrimental. But I'm with you. I mean, it's something. I wish we could just push a button and be like, okay. And I wish we had our budget. You know, if we can, if we just had a budget to be able to fully look at that, and things have been approved.
But I would, I mean, I guess, I mean, I think I'm in favor, for what it's worth, of keeping it open. I mean, I think ultimately that's where I land. I know it's, you guys to make the motion and the vote, but that's my thought anyhow, is to try our best to keep it open. I think if we can get 4-star ratings, we can keep it full, and it pays for itself, we keep it open. But I think we have to know too that if there's a situation where we need the space, if enrollment drops or funds drop and it has to close, we want to try to avoid a Southwestern situation, obviously, but that may be where it's at. Something else. I don't know. I've lost my train of thought. Sorry.
But there's those unknowns that are what's so scary about it, I think. Or I shouldn't say scary, but just kind of put you on edge.
But I think, and
as long as it can pay for itself, that's my.
And Melissa and I talked a little bit, kind of amongst ourselves, that as part of this process of keeping it open, I think we still need to pursue some sort of maybe private entity that's willing to take it over as well. I think that, you know, maybe continuing to do that, it gives us a little bit more time. I don't know that there's a big pool of private entities out there to look for. It seems like those numbers are dwindling by the day almost, unfortunately, which puts an even bigger burden on our families and our community. So that's my thought on it, I guess.
I want to say that I feel like if we are going to continue to keep it open and we're going to apply for that license, I feel like while you have that ESSER fund cushion is the best time to do that, and try to have that license in place by the start of the school year, so that we can start when the end of the ESSER funds run out. Then you're starting with a new year and without money being mixed together, and you can really see how the daycare funds are coming in. I do know that there are people on the staff of the daycare that are willing to work on grants and things like that. They're just not things that they've been able to pursue with the unknowns. But those are two things that have been brought to my attention, and I wanted to mention that is the direction that the board chooses to go.
I think we'll have to apply for that.
For the ESSER?
That'll have to be an amendment to the ESSER and be approved if we'll use it for new licensing.
Okay. I don't necessarily know that we have to use the ESSER money for that. We can use the money that's coming in for licensing and keep the ESSER funds. I'm just saying while we have that cushion.
That's just what I'm saying. That's what, if we want to use the ESSER funds, I think we're doing it the other way.
Any other thoughts, comments?
I'm with Kelly. This is one of the hardest decisions that we've had to make. I mean, it has been such a tremendous asset for us, and it's been so well done over the years. I mean, you know, just we cannot question the quality of what they've done and the validity of what they've done. And you know, it is really hard. It's so hard because, you know, as you were indicating, the you know, our funds are designed for, you know, our K-12 school and that, you know, those kids and you know, the records show that you know, we've been running at a loss, but you know,
I think that
it's heartbreaking.
I think that loss has come from the scholarship. I think that's the threshold that has to change. We have to be able to charge these rates in order to make that work.
Yeah, that's true.
And forgive me, but have we polled, you know, those that will be affected by these rates to see if that's, I don't remember. We've had so many discussions.
We have We have not. We have told them about whether or not they wish to continue keeping their children in the daycare. But because the rates are a little bit unknown, because our licensing is unknown, we have not told them specifically because we don't have a nailed down number as to which rate they would be paying. Do you know what I'm saying?
Can I say something?
Yeah.
When we had the meetings initially, we did inform everybody that if we were able to keep it open after June 7th, which will be the last day that we can keep it open, you know, that we guarantee to keep it open, that we would have to explore charging the full rates for a 4-star, which was what we came into the Southwestern, that they were scholarship and that difference. So they were told up front during some of those meetings that if we were able to even explore the idea of keeping it open, that the rates would increase. The specifics on exactly what the rates would be was not discussed.
Yeah. And I know that was hard to project that, but to me, when you look at these numbers, that's kind of a little bit shocking to a point, you know. But is this something that...
Sorry, can I comment just on what you're saying? It's not, we don't have options, you know, so like that amount of money is nothing to me if I have to eat ramen for the month because my children will go to a daycare, because there's not another one open. There's no other options. So for me, the peace of mind is worth the cut and pay.
Because I do know that every other child care center in Clay County, even though there will be 2 left, they're going to be striving to be 4-star and 5-star sitters, because that's where they're going to be profitable as well. So even if they're not paying it here at the school daycare, they will probably, you know, eventually be paying it somewhere else.
So I think that one of the things, if you're looking at a 4-star rate for a 3 to 5-year-old is $780, and if you compare that to the current rates at other places, it's $200 per week. Mm-hmm. So I think one of the reasons we didn't explore polling that is because we don't know exactly what those rates would be, but also because those rates align to what is being paid at other centers. Mm-hmm. So it seems like a reasonable amount when you compare them.
And I totally forgot to say this before we started talking, but just as a reminder, Mr. Caldwell is not allowed to vote because of his connections to the Southwestern Child Care. So he can participate in the conversation, he just can't vote.
I'm employed by North Carolina Division of Child Development and Early Education, so I have been asked to recuse myself.
So, and I forgot to mention that. Charlie was mentioned that, so I apologize. Danny, anything from you there? Or you?
No, I'm listening.
Okay. Any other thoughts or discussion? Is there a motion at all?
Motion for...
Anything for the daycare?
So I was waiting for...
No, just any motion towards the daycare.
I guess I want to kick the can down the road, I guess. and make it, do everything we can to make it work for next year. I mean, if we see that we don't have the space, or, you know, if there's something, you know, that the licensure doesn't work, or, you know, something that really comes up that just says, you know, we can't do it. And if there's any hope for us to do it, I mean, you referred to, you know, last minute plans, and I think if we don't say absolutely no tonight, then that means that, you know, there might be that last minute catastrophe or situation that we can't overcome, which, you know, the numbers for kindergarten are at 80 right now. And if if that goes up and there is absolutely no space for it, then, I mean, I think that's another factor that would need to be considered. But I guess, is that a motion?
It sounded like a motion to me that you're in favor of trying to keep it open if we can.
I'm in favor of trying to keep it open if we can.
Okay.
And if we can't, then we'll do the call and say tomorrow it's closed.
Yeah. So there's, so Ms. Beck has made a motion that we do what we can to keep the daycare open. So that's the motion that's on the floor. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
So Ms. Crawford has seconded that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
So we have, and Mr. Caldwell has recused himself, so that motion has passed, so the daycare will stay open as long as we can.
Listen, y'all, there's really compelling stuff gonna happen.
We better see a 4-star.
So next we have the school nutrition procurement plan.
So, board members, in your Google Drive, you have the entire procurement plan. In your packets, you just have the first page. It's a 24-page document. The reason that I'm presenting this rather than Ms. Jenny Bethel, our school nutrition director, is because the only thing that is needed as a change on this procurement plan is an updated signature with the superintendent's signature. And so, Ms. Bethel does present this anytime there is a change to the procurement plan or a change in vendors or any of that sort. She always presents those things. So nothing about the procurement plan is changing. But when we just had our recent review, the only thing that they noted for us was that this form needed to be updated. And so I'm just asking for the board to approve the procurement plan with updated signatures with no changes to the plan.
So you have the recommendation that we reapprove the same procurement plan, just update the signatures to have Ms. Godfrey on there instead of Mr. Cole.
Yes.
So,
I'll second it.
Okay, motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next we have Ms. Hollingsworth with budget.
We have a few budget amendments this evening to go over. We'll do the state public school fund first. The state public school fund, that is not any new, oh no, I'm sorry, I looked at the wrong one. I got my stuff out of order. We don't have one for the state public school fund, do we? Y'all got me nervous with daycare. I got my stuff out of order. Okay, now, state public school fund. This is an addition in money, $37,901.04. We had to budget an additional $491.04 in longevity annual leave bonus leave payouts. That's a guaranteed allotment. Transportation, $19,895. That's the diesel and equipment contingency, and the final allotment based on ridership. Teacher assistant tuition program, $4,197. LEA direct purchase, this again related to transportation, is for the stop arm cameras. We got a grant for that for $5,165. And then the Indian gaming distribution to our textbook funds, $8,153. Are there any questions on those? Okay, the next one is the local current expense fund. There's no increase in funding there. These are just changes that need to be made to align the purpose codes with the DPI chart of accounts. The main reason why we're doing this at the beginning of the year, when we budgeted for all the local 1.5%, we did it in one budget category. So a lot of teachers are paid out of different purpose codes. So since we have spent those funds already for the first half, we're able to align the budget up with that. So after we release the second half of that 1.5% local supplement, we'll have to do the same thing again. Are there any questions on the local? For the federal grants fund, an additional $68,852.86. This is for IDEA, which is the federal exceptional children's funds that we receive. That's $69,792.86. An adjustment in our RLIS funds, that's rural and low income schools, that's $988 that they are taking away from that, and then additional $48 in our 108 funding. And then the rest of those changes are again to align the expense code with the DPI chart of accounts.
So, can you speak to RLIS and why money's taken away?
Angel.
It's not here. It's like it's the end of school.
Yeah, it happens.
It's like adding the $48 to the Title IV money. They just go through and do budget across the state, and you get a little notification and go into the budget.
No other explanation other than they are making adjustments. Yeah, we'd have to transfer it over to a different expense code.
So do they do this just periodically for anything without explaining? And it could be more than that?
The past 3 years, yeah, it could be. It's typically not very much, but usually if it's going to be a large sum of money, we'll get a more of a heads up. But usually during the course of the year, they do even out allotments and that nature. They do it also with state funding as well. Yes.
It's not based on ADM.
No, there are many different formulas how the federal funds are distributed, not on ADM like state money is.
Okay. Thank you.
The other specific revenue fund, which is Fund 8, an additional $23,100.41. Additional monies for the Discovery Child Care Stabilization Funds, $8,064. School reimbursements, and the school reimbursements are those funds where we have to pay out certain things through payroll, and then the school's athletic funds or different funds have to reimburse us. It could be things like the driver for an activity bus for a field trip, or for gate workers at athletic events or any other events. So that's $9,436.85. And then this Lunchbox Hero program, $5,599.56 for the $23,100.41.
Shelley, that Lunchbox Hero, that's donors that contribute to our lunch shed, is that correct?
That is correct.
And so, what time period is that, do those donations or what?
Well, those would have been what we've gotten year to date this year. This year. What we do at the beginning of the year is we go ahead and we budget for what we have collected in the prior year, and then usually towards the end of the year, we go ahead and budget what revenue we have received year to date. And a lot of that comes from the casino. They do a program where it's withheld from their staff's checks, and then we'll get a check every so often for that.
So that's what you're doing?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments for Shelley on those? If not, we'll entertain a motion that we approve those as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Ms. Beck, is there a second? Sean, second, all in favor? Thank you. And next we have the Media Center window replacement.
Okay. So in your board folder on the Google Drive, I uploaded some information there on the quotes we received for purchase windows and the installation for the elementary school. This has been something that's been ongoing for a while. We had a difficult time actually getting quotes for the installation. We did receive 2 quotes for installation of new windows in the media center. We were not able to secure that 3rd quote after numerous attempts to contact other vendors in our area. So the windows will be purchased separately through Pella Windows and Doors, and the installation will have to be separate. Sweetwater Land and Home Services, their install was $19,500 for their quote. Reynolds Construction, theirs was $28,880. So with that, the Sweetwater Land and Home and the purchase of the windows and doors, that was the lowest quote. So that is what we are recommending approval on this evening.
So you have those bids and the recommendation to approve the Sweetwater Land and Home Services to install those windows in the media center. And those are beginning to rot. They're wood cased windows, and the casing is rotting now. That's why they're having to be replaced.
So it creates issues with the heating and cooling as well as safety in general. And this is R&R.
This will be R&R funds.
Yeah.
So is there a motion that we, I guess, enter into a contract with Sweetwater Land and Home Services for that?
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Caldwell made a motion. Is there a second for that?
I'll second it.
Ms. Beck, second. All in favor?
Aye.
And next we have the proposal for the gym floor, high school gym floor.
Okay, and I'm probably going to call on Mr. Livers for a moment too with this. We received 2 quotes for the sanding, sealing, and painting and finishing the HHS gym floor. Again, we were unsuccessful with getting a 3rd quote for that. We had game day floors, $29,715. Appalachian flooring, $32,000. However, we are recommending to go with the Appalachian flooring based on scheduling, even though they're a little bit more expensive. Appalachian flooring will be able to complete this project in July and into early August, whereas game day floors would not be able to even start the project until August. Can you give a little more information on that timeline?
Yeah, so he gave us 2 options. He gave us the 1st of May, which of course we cannot do. And then he gave us August, which runs into volleyball season. It runs into a lot of things going on, basketball, things like this happening. Where Zimmerman Flooring, he gave us 3 or 4 dates that we can even do it in the month of June, or we can do it in the month of July. The only thing they require is that 3 to 4 weeks of sealing time for that floor. So to me, I mean, I know they were higher. I chose to go, I recommended Zimmerman because not only are they local, but they've done some good work for us in the past. Plus, he can get on it a lot quicker and with schedule.
And there's a lot of activity going on in June, July in the gym, so that's, yeah.
There is, and then volleyball too.
When we were looking at the dates and whatnot, Mr. Oberon provided the dead periods in the summer, and it's the 1st week of July and the 3rd week of July. So there's already 2 dead periods in July. So that made July very a good option in terms of the other activities that are going on. Whereas August, there are no dead periods, we're doing games, we're doing all the things. So because it is such a big project and the mess that we created as a result of that project, makes August or May, either one, not a good option for us.
And, Zimmerman is Appalachian?
Yes, it is.
Keith Zimmerman.
Okay.
And this will be from lottery, restoration, and renovation funds as well.
And I know we're talking about this season, and not to put you on the spot, but I know that floors had to be replaced because of the heat and air. That's been squared away.
That's been taken care of, and we patched the floor. Now, and the floor is due for a redo, a resanding anyway. So I think right now is a good opportunity since we've got that fixed now, just to go ahead and move forward with it.
Okay, very good. So we heard the recommendation to enter into a contract with Appalachian Flooring, even though they're the higher bid for the reasons stated in terms of scheduling. So is there a motion that we enter into that contract with Appalachian Flooring?
I'll make a motion.
Crawford, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Ms. Beck, second, all in favor? Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, thank you, Steve. Appreciate you being here. Next, we have the approval of the consent agenda. The only thing in the consent agenda is just the meeting minutes from the March 25 regular session. So those were emailed to you and you have a copy there. So I'll entertain a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Make a motion, Dr. Schiff.
Call for it. Is there a second?
And I'll second it.
Respect second, all in favor? Thank you. And next, I will entertain a motion that we go into closed session again for discussion of privileged and confidential information.
I'll make a motion to go in closed session.
I'll second it.
Respect second, all in favor? Thank you all for coming. Appreciate your time and patience. It was a long afternoon, but thank